Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for the extra footlights. It's very nice. My company is Nextek Power Systems. We're about halfway between here and the Fisher Building, up the street, just a few blocks from the PCAT plant, where Ford Motor Company became the largest automobile manufacturer in the world. Sometimes I drive past there in the mornings and think about that. We came here in 2005 from New York to make our fortune and develop more DC power systems, DC being direct current. We are an alternative energy company in the purest sense of the word, in that we're looking for alternatives to the status quo. And so we had an advantage that utilities generally don't have as the power company, which is looking at the issue as a clean sheet of paper. Gone back to kind of first principles to figure out what the best idea would be if you were going to develop a power system. Because it turns out that what we have today actually does not accommodate the way we use electricity. Starting about 50 years ago, we got away from what were the electrical loads in our lives, which were all inductive or resistive, so they were like incandescent lamps and motors. And now we're using our electricity more and more as direct current in electronic devices. Everything electronic uses direct current, and so we started with the load. We had to look at what now more than half of how we use power is in electronics, and we kind of built the system out. We tried to figure out what the right system is to support the load instead of trying to figure out how to best conform to the grid, because after all, the grid's supposed to be the handmaiden to the load, not the other way around. So we went backwards in time, and we found a man. Now, if you know who he is, right off the top of your head, don't yell it out. But if you don't know who he is, just guess. Anyone? Tesla's a fine guess. Ohm is another fine guess. I kind of thought, well, actually, it is Thomas Edison. When I first saw it, he seemed kind of youngish to me compared to most of his pictures, and he also seemed like someone I might have recognized from the Woodbridge pub. The interesting thing about Edison is that he lived and worked around here, too, for a lot of his life. He was born in Milan, Ohio, and he worked around here. He had an aunt with a hotel in Port Huron, and he traveled through here. He did a lot of work. In fact, if this event were being held at the Masonic Temple, we would be in a building that was designed, its electrical system was actually designed by Thomas Edison. The plans have his name on it. So he's really kind of a local guy, besides being, a world-famous inventor, and a huge proponent of DC, direct current, DC power. And he fought a big fight. He invented the light bulb, or at least made it useful. The phonograph made moving pictures possible. But he went up against big forces. He went up against Westinghouse with a boatload of cash and Tesla's patents. And, oh, he lost. He didn't win that fight, and it's kind of incredible to think that someone that was so accomplished and had so much money and fame and wind at his back lost that fight. Turned out there were good reasons that he lost that fight. The AC system that they developed at the time for power distribution across the country was kind of the best solution for the time, mostly because the load was not yet DC the way it is today. And this is a change that's just really only happened in our lifetimes, those of us who are 50. Well, our little company is second from the left. Yeah. And we're the only private company in this group of companies that we co-founded, called the Emerge Alliance, to advance DC power systems, because we think in the broadest sense Edison was right. He was just a good deal ahead of the time. Ironically, you'll see GE's logo in there. That's the company that Edison's business turned into in his lifetime, was General Electric. They're part of the group. So is our local utility, DTE Energy. So is Duke Energy. So SoCal Edison. Edison pops up again. But also the biggest manufacturers of transmission equipment in the world, the companies that make the big systems that transmit power over vast distances, like ABB, like Bosch. Half the North American lighting market is now either producing or designing for production DC-powered lighting products and DC fast chargers for vehicles. So it's an extraordinary changeover that we're seeing with this DC topology. Our company has some intellectual property in the game that allows DC power to get used on site at higher efficiency and still play nicely with the grid. There are a lot of things that you have in your lives, and some of you in your laps, that already describe what a little DC microgrid is. A laptop computer, that's got DC in from your power supply. You know, you plug into the wall to get the AC you purchase from the utility, and that brick in your power supply or the brick on your, you know, that thing. That's all turning AC into DC for use with your electronics. It's true in a laptop. Think about where your laptops are. It's true in all displays, except unless you have a legacy CRT screen, you know, like a big picture tube. Again, you'd need to be older to appreciate that, but there used to be other ways to show things, but these days there aren't. No one makes CRTs anymore. People only make flat displays. They only make LED or OLED displays or plasma displays. All of that relies on electronics. Vehicles, that's an all-electric Focus. Interestingly, they're building up at the Michigan Assembly Plant here in Wayne. Also, interestingly, a great big factory that's got our power system in it for its lighting. May not be a coincidence that the other place they're making that all-electric Focus is in Thailand, another property where we have our DC power system at Ford. So that's on the load side. On the supply side, all the green stuff that you want to have, or at least Michigan voters seem to repeatedly indicate they would like to have, that's all intrinsically direct current as well. Every solar panel, every wind turbine has a DC state that they're generating power before it gets to AC for the grid. And so it's really kind of a great big radical idea that we're advancing here, is that we look at the infrastructure that we have, which is kind of wholesale AC, retail DC, and getting more so, and change it. We've done this. I don't know how these, it looks a little Soviet to me, but I think these are US installations where you have a factory. There's lots of DC loads in factories, the robotics, the paint booths, all the telephony, all the computers. This is all direct current stuff, and that's what we have been generally focused upon. Until I met a really interesting guy through one of our engineers who's here, Wayne, and one of our other employees, Liang, involved in the IEEE. My children call it the IE, because I have a jacket that has that logo on it, but it's not pronounced that way. It's pronounced the IEEE. It stands for the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. And that's 400,000 geeks spreading around the world, over half of which outside the US, across 160 countries. And I have to say, as a semi-professional conference attender, they run great shows because everyone wants to be there. Well, it turns out they wanted to create power systems for people that don't have them. And we got involved. We helped engineer the solar trailer that you might have seen coming into the building, which I might ask for better names for. Not that I don't like STAR, but if you're going to have a trailer in front of a building that has to do with lighting and it's not searchlights, there's got to be something really witty in there, and I just couldn't come up with it for you. But if it comes to you now, you can shout it out. Maybe we're a singer from before. Because it's not a searchlight, it's like a found light. What we're doing is delivering power systems to people that have no access to energy. For every one of us, there are 3 people in the world. Right? There's 1 billion people, so it's 330-odd million Americans. There's 1 billion people without any access to power at all. So every one of you, there's 3 people who have zip. For every one of you, there are another 7 people that have really kind of mediocre access to power. So it's a complete disaster. as the utilities would tell you, providing electricity for a village or a town that doesn't have any electricity doesn't guarantee there'll be development. But if you don't have power, you can guarantee there will be no development. So it's what the philosophers in the room would call a necessary but insufficient precondition to getting things going. So we produce these trailers. When you go outside, you can see there's little, oh, here we are. You don't have to go outside. There's little suitcases that, which we can charge up 40 at a time, and people carry the last mile to their house to provide them some light and some ability to charge a cell phone, which is a huge uptick. I mean, if you think about if you didn't have it and you could have it, what would that mean to you? Well, we're very, very proud that one of those trailers can support, is it 400 people? 400 people that didn't have light before. We have about 18 of them deployed now in Haiti. And the company that's doing that, which I would say are 2/3 responsible for the success of the program, it's a local NGO called Sorona, has a biofuels for-profit business, has a foundation that's trying to bring power to people that don't have it. They figure out who's going to run it. They interview the people that are going to be the customers and the operators. They pull it together on site. Without them, there's no engineering in the world that would work. But I can tell you that there is not a team of engineers in North America that would have come up with the idea that you create a community charging station and people carry their electrons the last mile. Wouldn't have happened but for the close connection between that local NGO and the people in Haiti. So it may look a little clunky now, but I can tell you that the idea that's inside that trailer is the same idea that we have in Army facilities, in office buildings, and Ford plants. It's like the better idea, and now it's helping to bring new stuff to people that didn't have anything before. So I'd encourage you as a group, you know, conferences are how the IEEE came up with their idea to initiate this Community Solutions Initiative. Think about that. Think about how the prospect of a global DC power standard that could be supported with systems might do more, might advance parts commonality, might advance interoperability, might make things cheaper for everyone all over the world. I said it looked clunky before. Remember, there are some very cool things that started out looking a little homely. And I think we all appreciate where that's come today. It was like Matt Helm. I can't remember who looked so cool with one of those, but it doesn't seem likely now, does it? I just invite you to think about how those standards might really support in a cost-effective way these advances for the rest of the world that doesn't have the power that we do. Okay? Okay. So wait, no, I knew this would happen, although it's not quite dark enough to tell, but that is a simulated power outage, which we've all experienced, right? It's happened that the utilities let you down, not by their own fault. It's usually a squirrel. And that is true. Most line faults are traced back to squirrels. And you can't be mad at them. They're cute, I know. But it's out of your control. And the beautiful thing about these DC power systems and these DC microgrids is that they bring that control and the access to your own little network inside your home, inside of your control and inside your grasp. And that's the kind of thing that we're promoting. And I'd be delighted to hear ideas from the crowd on other ways to do it or ways to make it go faster, better, cheaper. Thanks so much.